Welcome to the Building Your Career podcast. I'm your host, Dom Taujanskas, and join us as we explore the world of construction. Each episode, we welcome a guest that shares career highlights and career advice, and hopefully inspires the next generation of construction professionals.
Welcome to another edition of the Building Your Career podcast. Today, really excited to have Lauriann Williams on as a guest. Very keen to delve into her experience and also doing a lot of work with STEM, which is an organisation which we haven't had any representatives on the podcast, and something that is really fitting with the theme of the podcast as well. So, Lauriann, thank you very much for being a guest on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's nice to be here.
It's all right. So I suppose we'll start off where we always start off. If you could give us a little bit of an understanding about your current job role and the company that you work for as well.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm currently a civil and structural design engineer, and I work for an engineering and design consultancy called RB Plant. So RB Plant, they mainly work in the manufacturing sector. So the type of projects that we work on at RB Plant are projects to do with upgrades of manufacturing sites and refurbishments of manufacturing sites. And the sector is very diverse. So we range across food to pharmaceutical to very heavy engineering such as oil and gas as well. So it's although we work in the manufacturing sector, we do work with a diverse range of different types of manufacturing sites. Not all of them are the nicest of sites. Like we have worked with like waste and poultry, which is not the best of sites, but we also get to work with like food sites and paper and things like that. So it's really, really nice. And as I mentioned, as a civil and structural design engineer, I've been with RB Plant for about just over 5 years now. And I started at RB Plant as a graduate. So RB Plant was the first role that I got from graduating from my undergraduate degree. I'm very happy to be still with them, and I've been involved with lots of many different projects since I started, and hopefully the journey continues with RB Plant as well.
Awesome. And I think that's really, I just wanted to kind of highlight as well to our listeners, you are a civil and structural engineer. So, for all of those people thinking, I need to, follow one path or another path, can you just tell us a little bit about, how you kind of got involved in both sides?
Yeah, it was actually the role that I applied for initially when I came to RB Plant. The position was for civil and structural design engineer, in a graduate role, and I thought that would be great for me. I graduated with a degree in civil engineering, but of course, the modules that I studied varied across structural as well. And I think now looking back, I think it's really great that I do have, the knowledge and expertise in not only civil, which you might think is mainly maybe like geotechnics and water, kind of like groundworks, more skills based, but actually I've got a background in kind of like steel and concrete, and I actually get to do analysis and I actually get to do calculations as well. It's really a mixed bag with me because one, I work for a small engineering and design consultancy, and I work very closely with my senior civil engineers. There's only 2 engineers in the whole organization, so of course I have to be immersed into doing everything. So I was thrown quite in the deep end when I started as a graduate role. But now I'm just very happy that I have that opportunity to build my knowledge in both civil with water, geotechnics, but also build my knowledge with structures, where initially when I started at RB Plant, I would say structures was my weakest point. I know lots of people like structural engineers, they probably think they're amazing at it and they love it. But for me, I was still trying to understand what I wanted to do in civil engineering. But this is actually giving me the best of both. Although I may still need support in the structures, need to like verify my calculations and things like that. But I still feel that it is good to kind of have that exposure to doing both, because I see that being beneficial in the future if I go to other organizations.
Definitely, and I think that's one of the things we're trying to do on the podcast is just open people's eyes up to the different options available. So I love that you're crossing over both really. But I know obviously you came from university as a graduate, but I suppose where did it all start off? Your kind of interest in engineering before university then?
Yeah, it's kind of really interesting because I had to really look back and kind of see like how did I really get interested into engineering, because it's a bit rare. There's not many females in engineering, so it's a really good question. I think I come from a background, like a family background of people in the construction industry. Very closely to me, my dad, he's in the construction industry, runs his own construction business. So, firstly, just being around someone in the family that works in construction from an early age, before there I even knew about, the lack of women in construction, and the lack of diversity generally. To me, I always thought that I could pursue a role in that field. Just from an early age, I used to go on site with my dad anyway, in the weekends. Not all the time because of health and safety, but when I had the opportunity to, I was there. So um, initially, I was very naive. I was like, okay, I'm going to be a builder. But when I actually done, it was a lot of doing my own independent research, because when I knew there was this whole world of construction and I was seeing different disciplines on site, like the foreman, the plasterers, and he works in like the proper he works in like the hospital. He works for the NHS, so all his contracts are to do like that. But still, like just seeing kind of like different job roles in construction at an early age, it was just kind of inspired me to see like there's lots of different opportunities. And when I then done my research and found out about engineering, I thought this could be suitable for me, because I don't want to be always on site, but I maybe do want to be behind the technical aspects of how to actually bring the design to life. So it was a lot of independent research and seeing what opportunities were there in the construction industry, and then finding out more about civil engineering. And I've always been inquisitive. I've always loved to problem solve. And everybody says that about, STEM roles, engineering roles. Most people who go into these fields, they tend to be really good at problem solving. And yeah, that was the case for me. So it just really, it tied very nicely into what I wanted to do, what I was looking to do in the future. So yeah.
Brilliant. Well, I think you've really hit the nail on the head there, and you were exposed from a young age to know about the different disciplines within construction, because there's a lot of some of the more junior guests that we've had on the podcast said, before I started construction, I thought it was literally just a bricklayer or a roofer and that was it. But you've been exposed from a very early age about all the different disciplines, and I think it leads us
Yeah.
really on very, very nicely to the kind of the work that STEM does. So I think a few of our listeners, they might know of an ambassador or two, they might have seen them on LinkedIn, but could you just give us a real kind of in-depth breakdown of exactly what it is?
Yeah, definitely. I'm a strong advocate for STEM, and being a STEM ambassador is all part of giving back to the younger generation. A lot of professionals, they've got all this knowledge that they've developed since from university level, and also going into the industry. And it's all about being an ambassador to the younger generation. Um, being that role model, looking back to like when you was a child and trying to fill in the gaps where you think you would have wanted some support or more insight into what it's like to be in the position that you're in now in the industry. So it's mainly about using your free time outside of work. And I know it's a bit tricky because people want their free time, but I do like the giving back element of it, because I would have definitely wanted someone from the industry from a young age, simply just to come into the classroom and give a talk about their career, and demonstrate maybe or get involved in something hands-on activity, and really kind of showcase the opportunities that are available for them, and also seeing people that also look like them as well, because then also it makes the children really think that they can be in that role in the future, that they can do it and they can also be successful. So yes, being a STEM ambassador is just contributing towards giving back and raising more awareness for STEM job roles and STEM opportunities to children.
That's awesome. And that's exactly, and I think it's one of those in terms of, particularly in primary schools, the construction industry just isn't talked about or isn't promoted. And I think, a lot of the directors I have on this podcast say, we need to do more to promote the industry to the younger generation. So I think that's absolutely incredible, what you're doing at STEM. So how does it work then? What do you kind of talk to the children about, and how often do you kind of get to go and to the visits?
Yeah, definitely. So initially when I started volunteering in STEM, initially I just joined up as a STEM ambassador. There's a very well-known educational platform that a lot of people who are STEM ambassadors, they will definitely know about. And they post a lot of STEM volunteering opportunities for professionals in the industry, and also your employer can get involved as well. Members of your organization can also become a STEM ambassador through them. But I wanted to kind of take that a step further. I wanted to do a lot more within the community that I live in. So I started my own organization, through which I engage with other volunteers, who we organize a lot of activities and workshops within the local community of Bexley, in Southeast London, because I really wanted to kind of develop workshops. So besides doing career talks, which I used to do career talks individually, I used to also initially, when I started off early in like becoming a STEM advocate, I was part of my university mentorship program. So I mentored undergraduates in the civil engineering cohort. So if they were in their second year, just to give them as much preparation for leaving university, and to give them as much support as well, so they're prepared as well. So it started off like that, but now we deliver outreach in schools through Lauriann STEM Club, my organization, which is a social enterprise. So most of it is all volunteer based, and everybody is volunteers. And we do, so we still do career talks, but we cover the whole of STEM. So we do coding workshops, we do engineering workshops, which involves kids getting involved in hands-on activities, real engineering design projects from an earlier age, so they can really understand what it will be like in the workplace, like actually giving them like design projects that they can work in groups and use their engineering skills from an earlier age. They're also gaining transferable skills as well. They're gaining engineering skills, and it's really just giving them more insight into what it's like in the industry, and hopefully they can get excited and inspired to actually pursue a career in those industries as well.
And I think that's incredible because, I think, what you're doing is amazing because, and I suppose this goes back to, for me personally, leaving university after studying architecture for 5 years and then making that transition to the real world, as it were. You were kind of
Yeah.
helping people with that transitional period, and that to me was a complete shock because I had no idea how it actually worked in the real world away from university. But then you're also transferring that to primary school children, where and having like practical hands-on workshops that they can do where they can learn about team building, team bonding, working together. And
Mhm.
something that's quite personal for me, because I remember my son coming home from primary school and saying, "Oh, we had a STEM ambassador in and we were building bridges," and he was
Oh,
so excited.
wow.
Now the look on my face, I was like, "That's amazing! That that's something that should be done, a lot more, really." So, yeah, I think
Definitely.
it's great the work that you're doing. So, what we'll do is we will put all the links below for this as well. How does someone get to be a STEM ambassador then, if they are interested in kind of giving back?
Yeah, definitely. So, if you want to become a STEM ambassador, you should definitely check out the website called stemlearning.co.uk. They're a UK national organisation with a wide platform where they connect with teachers, education providers, schools, youth organisations like myself, and literally it's a platform for professionals or for undergraduates or postgraduates, look if they're interested in volunteering their time to do a talk or to participate in a workshop. The teacher will post their activity on the platform, or a youth organization like myself, I will also post my own activities or workshops that I'm planning. And then you would just go onto the platform, browse the opportunities and express your interest. And also they cover your DBS as well. So it's a really great platform, STEM Learning, and they operate nationally, and they have a hub in London, and they have other hubs as well outside of London as well. So they cover the whole of the UK. And also, if you are local to Bexley, you're more than welcome to participate in any workshops we've got going on as well. So
Smashing. And we'll include the links below, so do keep a lookout for Lauriann STEM, please. But
yeah.
I suppose that the next question usually is if you could turn back the hands of time and give your younger self one piece of advice. But I think it's probably more appropriate to ask, what general advice do you give, kind of primary school children, or what is generally the kind of some of the questions that they ask you, or maybe the outcome of those meetings?
Yeah, definitely. Um, like even the other day, I attended. We were planning a engineering workshop for a after school club that's run by the Bexley Council. But it's a really great after school club because these particular children, they're foster children. So it was a really great opportunity for us to just diversify the kids that we work with, because we believe education is for all, and especially STEM education. And I was dropping off the resources the other day, a week before the workshop, like all the resources we need to for the activity. And I was explaining to the kids we'll be returning the next week to do a STEM workshop. And one of the children said, "Oh, we're going to be doing stuff to do with plants." And I didn't want to give away exactly what we were doing. And she just automatically thought we were doing like planting or something to do with biology. So I was like, that is one of the kind of questions and what comes out of children from that age. But also yeah, but also we do know that children sometimes do think, especially if you look specifically at engineering, for example, a lot of children, there is still some stigmas around engineering and construction, and kids still do feel that construction is more of like a laborious job. And there's jobs that are office jobs, and there's site jobs, and also you can do a mixture. You can be in the office and you can be on site. So these workshops are really important, and it's quite important to kind of like narrow the gap between industry and schools, because it does seem like there's lack of kind of that outreach side of things, and it'll be great to bring in more industry into the schools, and to kind of break down those stigmas that kids might not feel that they're suitable to go into these particular roles. And especially young girls as well, especially with the STEM subjects. There's a lack of uptake of girls taking STEM subjects, and I think particularly it might be because some of these stigmas as well, and also they may think that it's a bit, you might have to get the highest grades. That is one of the things that students might think, that you have to be amazing at maths, you have to be amazing at science or IT, when generally you don't need to be amazing. Like, you don't have to be a whiz at maths. Ideally, if you enjoy maths, then that's great, but you don't. It's all about developing your skills and experience through other ways. You don't have to have the highest of marks to pursue. There's apprenticeships, there's other routes of entry into STEM opportunities, so it's just about raising more awareness for that.
Brilliant. And that's obviously, one of the questions here is, what are the different routes available? But particularly, if I always say to people, particularly if you don't have the means to go to university for whatever reason, there are other paths available to get into the industry. So I think you've really kind of hit the nail on the head with that one. I suppose, for anyone kind of the younger generation considering looking into the industry or wanting to get a bit more of an understanding about the latest trends or the latest news or what it's about, where would you say for people to kind of start off, whether that be looking online or whether that be events to go to? Obviously, please talk about STEM events and things like that, but where's a good starting point for people to do the research?
I would say definitely online in general. So if mainly looking at the subjects that you enjoy, especially if you're at the age of GCSE level, you're now looking to select your GCSEs. That is a big stage in a student's life, and a very important stage, because your GCSEs more or less kind of just put you in the path of what you're going to do in the future. And likewise with your A levels as well. And a lot of students, they may be undecided still on what they're going to select for their GCSEs. And I would just advise, look at the subjects that you're currently studying, look at what subjects you really enjoy, because as I mentioned, it's not always about the subjects that you get the best grades in. Of course, if you get the best grades in, then that should be a choice that you should definitely consider. But obviously, I understand if you are getting the best grades in some of the subjects, you might not always enjoy it. And also in the future, the career you're going to choose, you should definitely enjoy it, because you're going to be in it for quite a considerable amount of time. So you just have to kind of balance that. And definitely just use online resources. The STEM learning platform, they have a lot of resources for teachers. They have session plans. They have activities and worksheets on there. Even just BBC Bite Size as well. And there are other online platforms where you can actually type in the subjects that you've chosen for your GCSEs, and it will actually give you lists of different job roles that match to the GCSE subjects that you've chosen. So if you've chosen history, geography, and IT, it will actually come up with a profile of jobs that match those subjects that you've chosen as well, which is really, really good. So definitely just, look online, and also there are activities. See if there's activities locally in your area that you can get involved with, because at Lauriann STEM Club we are trying to put on activities during the half term and during the summer holidays. There's lots of activities going on during the half term and summer holidays, but there isn't much STEM activities, and it's always sports activities and music or dance, like arts and crafts. So we're trying to do more STEM activities and get kids to kind of join us during the half time and summer holidays and take part in learning more about STEM careers and making it fun as well, and making it fun with arts and crafts and creativity, and really giving them that knowledge that they will need in the future.
Awesome. And I think for me, I've heard so many horror stories of people in and around my age who had a careers advisor who told them, oh, I think you should be doing this, and didn't really care about what they were saying to them, and
Yeah.
they work in an industry that's nothing related to what the current career advisor said. So if you have particular interest in certain subjects, I think that's a great idea. Go online and find out a place that could give you not just one suggestion, but multiple suggestions about the kind of career paths you want to go down, which would ultimately inform your GCSEs, your A levels, and then going on to university if that's the route that you want to go down, really. So yeah, I think that's great advice. But I suppose just to kind of close out on the final question, really, I mean, you're doing awesome work yourself in terms of the attraction for the young talent into the industry. But what can the industry do as a whole, both to kind of attract and retain that younger talent as well?
Yeah, that is such a really good question. And I think there's different ways. There are different ways because we have to definitely look at the pipeline between students at school level to higher education and also in the workplace. And where I sit at the moment is that I definitely want to keep giving back to students because there's a saying that I came across where children, I think primary school children are very moldable, or like very early children are very moldable from a very early age. So that outreach that we do, especially in the primary schools, are very, very important. Um, Currently, we work with secondary schools in the London Borough of Bexley, but it is something that we're trying to expand and do more outreach in primary schools. So that is the first thing, doing more outreach and organizations like myself. And there's other lots of bigger organizations that are doing such great work in terms of their STEM outreach in schools. Um, and also, essentially, we want more children to take up STEM subjects in schools, which is what we're doing, trying to break any stigmas which is causing any barriers or access for kids to, want to study these STEM subjects. And also, we want them to, study these subjects in higher education. So at university level, we want to make sure that, the courses are the best that they can be, the STEM courses, which I think generally they are, but there can always be some improvement. And also looking at recruitment as well. So looking at the workplace and what can our employers do. Our employers can engage more themselves with schools as well. And I know there's a few reasons why employers may have there is barriers there, I believe, with employers because I know sometimes employers do bring in younger talent into their organization. Employers have apprenticeship schemes which are working well, and I think there should be more apprenticeship schemes because they're really good, because they're another route to university where some children just might have barriers in actually going to university. So I think apprenticeship schemes are really great. But yeah, it's then retaining that talent, as you mentioned. Some talent do drop out, which kind of makes employers think, why should I invest my time, like our time, back into bringing in younger talent when they're not going to stay for a long amount of time? So I do understand from an employer's point of view about their point on it. But I think it's looking throughout the whole pipeline. If we can um, create a better experience for our younger talent when they join these industries and give them as much support as we can, I think that will also help us, retain the talent that we're retaining. And also looking at encouraging more females, encouraging more diversity as well, and definitely looking, from a HR point of view, what can we do to make the workplace more inclusive as well?
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, Lauriann, I'm so glad I got you on as a guest. You've been absolutely incredible, and I've been looking forward to this one for a while, and you certainly didn't disappoint. So thank you so much for being a guest on the pod. What we'll do is include all the links below. Go check out Lauriann's STEM page. Please, if you're in the South East London area, get to those events.
Yeah.
But yeah, those events are awesome. And my son was certainly wouldn't stop talking about it for weeks and weeks
Oh,
afterwards.
that's
So yeah.
amazing.
Brilliant.
Ah,
Well, thanks so much for being a guest on the pod. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's been amazing.
No probs. Take care.
Joining us on the Building Your Career podcast. We hope you enjoyed hearing from our guest and learning about the different career paths available. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe so we can reach even more listeners. And if anyone wants any free CV advice or simply wants to know the options available to them, don't hesitate to get in touch.